How haunted does a house have to be for paranormal researchers to run in fear, refusing to ever step foot inside again? Could it be the number of voices whispering from the shadows, or a woman in white who sadly gazes out of the window? Vaile Mansion in Missouri is such a home, and with dark history of scandal, loss and regret, it seems the dead have plenty to say. Colonel Harvey Merrick Vaile was a lawyer, journalist and business investor, becoming part owner of Star Mail Routes, a postal service which ran from St. Louis to points west in the frontier. After many years of hard work, he and his wife Cecilia Sophia wanted a property that would reflect their wealth and status in the community. Thus began the build of Vaile Mansion that took 10 years to complete, finishing in 1881. This was no ordinary home either, costing $150,000 to build, which is around $4 million by today's standards, and was designed with French Baroque Revival architecture in mind. To say it was amazing would be selling the place short too, as it boasted 31 rooms, 9 marble fireplaces and a 48,000-gallon wine cellar. And that's nothing compared to the modern features of the day of a flushing toilet and a built-in 6,000-gallon water tank. But just as the couple believed things were going great, life decided to throw a spanner in the works with a huge scandal, and it hit the couple hard. The Colonel was accused of swindling the US government by awarding contracts for new mail routes in the southwest worth a pretty penny to high-bidding contractors, then splitting the profits. The poor guy was summoned to Washington, D.C. and stood trial twice, in 1882 and 83, costing a whopping $100,000 to defend himself. Even though he was acquitted of the crime, the trials ruined the reputation of the Colonel and his wife, leaving them feeling alone and humiliated at a time when they needed support. And just when you think it couldn't get much worse for the Vailes, life went and really stuck the knife in. While the second trial was taking place, Sophia had decided to stay at Vaile Mansion alone, and it was during this time she discovered she had stomach cancer. On Valentine's Day 1883, she took her own life by means of a morphine overdose in her bedroom on the second floor. Now, when the Colonel arrived back at his empty house, he was hit with how much he had lost, especially as the locals were avoiding him after the scandal. The man was left so destroyed by the loss of his wife that he is said to have buried her on the front lawn of the property in a glass-topped coffin that was set flush to the ground. He did this so that even though she was gone, he could still see her every day and not feel so alone. But I'm sure you can imagine how the locals felt about this arrangement, and after a lot of protesting, the Colonel was forced to move his wife and bury her in a more conventional manner. This meant he was alone again, and he continued to be so until his death in 1895. It seems that the heartbreak of suicide left a soul behind. Over the years, many visitors to the property have been left shocked when they've looked up and seen Sophia appearing as a woman in white, watching them from her bedroom window on the second floor. And although she haunts the window area a lot, she's also seen wandering the hallways of the mansion while being suspected of other activity in the property. When the Vailes died, they left behind no children of their own, so their nieces and nephews took up the fight for ownership of the mansion. The court battle lasted for 5 years, but even though the nieces and nephews won the case, they were unable to pay the court fees, which had added up to a pretty penny. This left only one option: to sell the house at auction. It's said that the family lawyer purchased the property, who had it converted into a psychiatric hospital. This was the first transformation of the property, as over the years it was also a nursing home, an inn, as well as a museum. While it was being used as a hospital, rumours circulated about the treatment of the patients. A rumour so persistent many believe it must be true. It said that the patients who were suffering from severe mental conditions were kept in the basement, stuffed into cages. Pretty sure that didn't do much to help their mental and physical state. As you can imagine, when you have people struggling with mental health issues or other problems, there can be a lot of built-up frustration and anger, especially if the rumours are true. In the basement of the property, many have heard disembodied voices and loud banging sounds coming from the walls, as if someone is desperately trying to get the attention of the living or to drive them away. This spirit has also appeared as a full-bodied apparition, with those who have witnessed his spirit describing a very intense, foreboding feeling that comes from him. He's not the only patient that has stayed behind at Vaile Mansion either. One patient, believed to be a young man, lived and died on the 3rd floor of the property. His ghost has been seen stalking this floor, walking from room to room, with guests unsure as to whether he is aware of the living or not. Finally, after being sold numerous times, the Vaile Mansion was left abandoned to deteriorate until a demolition date could be set. It was at this point that a local family decided to take a gamble and restore the property to its former glory. They purchased the building for $60,000, spending much more on restoration, until the property was acquired by the City of Independence in 1983 and the restoration was completed. When a property has such a checkered past and raw emotions have been experienced inside its walls, the dead can become trapped in their own nightmare, wanting the living to know their stories. There are many tales of the paranormal at Vaile Mansion, but there are still spirits residing here who have not yet been identified. Maybe they never will be either, as when a building has been used for so many different things, it's difficult to track who stayed and who left. Other activity that takes place at this creepy property is shadow figures that are seen flitting from room to room along hallways, as well as running up and down the stairs. They certainly have more energy than I do, and they're dead. There's not a single area of the home that doesn't get activity of the supernatural kind. Have you visited Vaile Mansion? I'm curious to know whether you felt the level of anxiety that many of the paranormal researchers complained about. Would you too be afraid to venture inside its walls again? Or do you have fond memories of the property? Let me know in the comments below. It's safe to say that a lot of misfortune has been witnessed here. And maybe it is due to this that many spirits have found themselves trapped, lost. Hopefully in time, they will all find the peace that they so desperately crave. Until next time, dissectors, stay safe out there.